everyone. Thank you very much for making it on a weekday evening. I was warned that, the temperature today is 45 degrees. So people might be delayed, but I'm glad to see it's a full house at 4 p.m. Thank you all very much. Mr. Abhishek Singh, as you all know, is an additional secretary in MeitY. More importantly, he's the head of the India AI mission. But before I get to AI and GPUs and all that, sir, I want to ask you, you're an alumnus of IIT Kanpur. Today, you're India's AI czar. But if you were a young student today, what would you choose? AI developer or IAS?
I would rather try to be a data analyst maybe, which has much more potential that one can either transform into an AI developer or maybe an IAS officer later.
But hopefully you'd be working in India, right? Or would we see you, among those research scientists in OpenAI and Silicon Valley?
No, I would definitely prefer to love to work in India. There's a lot to learn from across the world, but nothing like the impact that you can create by working in India and the kind of brilliant minds that you have in India. It's a great opportunity. Whether you are in the public service or whether you are in the tech world or whether you are in any sector that you are, the kind of impact that you can create working here, the kind of people you interact with, the kind of learning experience that you have here is unparalleled compared to anywhere else.
So the government recently approved the India AI mission, right? It's rupees 10,000 crore, more than that, right? Before we get into the nitty-gritties of India AI, I mean, for the uninitiated over here, could you please give a few lines about what India AI mission is? And following that, sir, just wanted to also ask you, it talks about giving GPU access, right? Now you could use GPUs to make a foundational AI model which would require a lot of capacity, or you could use lower capacity to build use cases on top of those models, right? So what would you suggest that startups can choose, if you could?
See, the India AI mission, as you rightly said, the 7th March, it was approved by the government, more than 10,000 crores committed for it. And if you would have followed the various verticals that it has 7 key verticals across which the whole program is designed, and it covers almost all the aspects that we got to know with regard to various consultations that we held with industry, academia, other stakeholders. So like the 7 key verticals, I'll quickly run through. The first key vertical is, of course, as you rightfully said, the compute. Because from every forum we heard that compute is something that we need, the startups need, the researchers need, the academicians need. So compute is a provision of setting up AI compute infrastructure of 10,000 GPUs plus. So it can go up. There is enough provision, funding provision for making that happen, to be set up by in the private sector with government support, to be made available to the community who needs AI compute. The second vertical is, of course, funding for building up an Indian foundational model. As we know, there are more than hundreds of foundation models across the world, but the Indian efforts have not really culminated in building a hardcore made in India foundation model trained on Indian data sets which will work in Indian languages to do that. So there is funding provision of almost 2,000 crores for building up an Indian foundation model, which will be done with support of academic institutions, but maybe the most brilliant minds also can come together to design and build that. The third key component of the whole India AI mission is the India Datasets platform, because we realize that till we make the datasets available, whether available in the government, whether available in the private sector, to be made available to the researchers, the startup ecosystem, we might not move forward on building applications for that. And then the fourth vertical in the whole piece is with regard to the application development.
Right.
So India AI Application Development Initiative seeks to build minimum of 25 AI applications across sectors: healthcare, education, agriculture, manufacturing. So across sectors, 25 applications which will be scaled up and roll out across the nation. And for that, we are already identifying problem statements which are AI, which can be solved by AI. And for that, there will be hackathons which will allow startups to participate and build those solutions which the government can procure and deploy. Then the next key vertical is, of course, about the skills, the future skills that we are calling it AI future skills. Under that, there is provision of setting up 200 data labs across the tier 2, tier 3 cities in ITIs and polytechnics, so that we can train people to become data analysts, data annotators, data taggers, because ultimately to make data usable for for AI, you need such people also. They might be, so it will ultimately lead to creating jobs in the AI sector from even the tier 2, tier 3 cities. Then there is a provision of again around almost 2,000 crores for startup financing. Startups who are working in the field of AI at various stages of their evolution. So from the seed stage to the maturity stage, there will be provision of funding for startups who are building solutions in the AI space. And last but not the least, there is a whole provision for building safe and trusted AI. How do you develop solutions and tools and for assessment of AI solutions to ensure that they conform to the ethical or the responsible AI guidelines, to measure them and to ensure that they can be deployed. These are the 7 verticals across which the India AI mission has been designed.
Right, just one, but the main question, what approach would you suggest to startups? Should they focus on foundational models or building on top of that?
See, I would say building on top of it, because foundational models are something that requires a lot of effort, a lot of money, and any foundational model would require throwing up compute of the order of maybe hundreds of millions of dollars. So not every startup will be able to do that. Plus the talent that is required, the skill set that is required to train a foundational model from scratch, that is also very limited, and it's a limited supply across the world. So maybe a group of people working with some academic guide or someone can think of coming and joining the foundation model initiative is there. But the bigger opportunity will be in building the applications using either the foundation model that is developed in India as and when that is developed, or till it is done. There are a lot of foundation models which are already available. There are open source foundation models which are available. So that can be used for inferencing and for fine tuning and building applications that can be deployed. So startups will have a greater opportunity. More number of startups will have more opportunity for building applications.
Right. So I had a follow-up question on the GPU bit. I mean, we understand that the government is looking to float a request for proposal, right? Could you please talk about when we can expect that? And also, so just wanted to know that, when the access to GPU is opened up, right, there would be a long queue of people waiting to get hands on it. So what would give priority? Like what kind of applications would get priority in terms of getting access to that GPU?
Basically, if you have to give a cheat sheet on who will get access or what they should do to get access to GPUs.
All the startups or the researchers who are building solutions using Indian data sets for the problem statement that we have floated, they all will get opportunity to use that compute. And there will be sufficient compute for all our needs. So prioritization will be, of course, the problem statements that we have identified, the health sector, the education, the agriculture, the social impact, but there might be some other solutions that startups can think of which we may not also be able to. So it will be available to all those who are building social impact solutions, I can say.
Right. The first part of Aihik's question, which is, you've announced a very ambitious India AI mission. The first part of that is going to be 10,000 GPUs. When are we going to see that coming? When are you floating an RFP? I think in a previous interview to us, Minister Vaishnav said that, they will engage with NVIDIA as well. Give us a sense of where we are in terms of this GPU access.
There are 2 parts to it. One, of course, will be floating the RFP hopefully as soon as the model code of conduct gets over. So the RFP will be for setting up of a whole supercompute infrastructure which will have all the chips that may be required by the industry. I would not say that it will be only NVIDIA, it will only be H100s. It can be NVIDIA, it can be AMD 300, it can be Gaudi 3, it can be a combination of the 3, it can be, because some models may require training, some may require inferencing, some may require fine tuning. So depending on the requirement, whatever compute is needed by the users, we will not define that. We are doing a user survey and we are trying to find out what is the need, and based on that the supercomputing infrastructure will come. But even after we float that tender, we float that RFP, it will take some time for such a data center to come, because the racks that are required, the power consumption that is required, the cooling that is required for a supercomputer infrastructure, it's different from a usual data center. So it will take anywhere between 12 and 18 months to be able to become actual operational and do. But while that process will go on, till such time, there are other players who are setting up AI compute infrastructure with different kinds of NVIDIA and Intel and all chips which are there. So there will be a provision of working out a mechanism wherein those who need compute, they will be able to use that at a subsidized or through a voucher or something. That model is being worked out. So one part will be to set up the overall 10,000 compute infrastructure working from scratch, and the other will be to leverage the existing compute which is there and make it available to those who need it.
Right. Apart from GPUs, another cornerstone of AI development is talent. Now, the India AI program, as you mentioned, also talks about training AI talent, but again, that's from a long-term perspective. In the short term, are there any inducements India can offer, its AI talent in top Silicon Valley companies to perhaps come and build AI IPs here? Just this morning we did a story about this individual Prafulla Dhariwal, a native of Pune. He was a child prodigy who got scholarships from the government of India, won one Olympiad after another, got a top rank in JEE, ended up going to MIT and has now developed the GPT-4 Omni for OpenAI. So while it's heartening to see talent from India do very well, the question is, what are we doing to ensure that, we can foster this talent, nurture this talent here? And in the short term, can we bring some of these people back from the valley by giving them these population scale missions, population scale projects, something that can really fire them up and motivate them?
Yes, that's something that's something that is in the works, and ultimately we always, in fact, yesterday only I was talking to Tanuj and I was mentioning to him that we have to think of the way we thought about atomic energy or space research way back when Homi Bhabha set up the Bhabha Atomic Research Center, or Vikram Sarabhai set up ISRO. That time also we were like trying to catch up with the West, which was very advanced, whether it was in nuclear research or space research. And that time also people would have thought that what India is attempting at that point was like a moonshot, and whether we'll be able to do or not. But then yes, we were able to attract the best of the minds of those times, invest in them, give them the kind of necessary authority, funding, whatever support that was required, and they built something of which we are still proud of. So for AI also, we do need to think of that, and the foundational model piece which I mentioned is a step towards that direction. There are brilliant minds across the world. There are not many people who can train a foundation model from scratch. There are very few. Somebody told me, I don't know whether it's true or not, that there are only 300 people who have the capability of training a foundation model from scratch, and around 8 to 10 of them are Indians. So if we can identify them, whether the name you gave or there is somebody, Deven Singh Chaplot from Mistral, and there are several other such minds. So if we can somehow manage to get them, excite them, and ask them to lead such kind of initiative, maybe this will be a Bhabha moment for AI for India. But yes, a lot will need to be done to make that dream happen.
Right.
So moving on from India AI, so just wanted to also understand, India has a lot of DPIs when it comes to like UPI or on an Aadhaar. Just wanted your take on the application of artificial intelligence when it comes to DPI. How can it be made more powerful, or can the existing ones be made more powerful? Are there use cases like that, or can we build an entirely new DPI platform with the help of AI? And what are the use cases that can be where can it be used?
See, there are multiple use cases wherein AI can further enhance the power of the DPIs that we have. See, the DPI story of India, like of course the applications, whether it's the identity piece, or whether the payments piece, or whether it's the DigiLocker, or whether it's the data piece that we have built up, or the ONDCs or the Gati Shakti which is coming up. What it shows is that India has the capability of building, using technology for building solutions at scale which can transform the lives of people. So while the existing DPI applications are very basic and simple, it's not rocket science engineering as per, if you may say. But if you build up an AI layer on top of it, because the kind of data that is being generated with the DPI applications, it offers a great potential for building better solutions over it. For example, for the agriculture ministry, whether they implement the PM Kisan or DBT for transferring money, or whether it's for the crop research, Kisan call center and all, they are generating a lot of data. So using that data, one can build applications on top of that, which will ensure farmers can get advisories on voice in their mother tongue. Because most people are not able to use many DPI services, because not everyone in India is comfortable browsing a web page or downloading an app or navigating a CAPTCHA. But if we are able to give voice-enabled services using NLP, using AI, and people could just go use a 2000 rupees phone, call a toll-free number and ask, like, Agre mein bajre ki कीमत mandi mein kya hai? And if he gets that reply back, and if this starts happening in all languages, or somebody like for healthcare, somebody wants to know कि diarrhea में बच्चे को क्या देना चाहिए. So like even though these information is available on Ministry of Health website or something, but not everybody will be able to access that. So if we are able to offer these services of DPI through voice in mother tongue, and people could just ask a smartphone or call a toll-free number and give the query in voice, in whichever unstructured language they say, Hindi, English mix karke, or any mix of languages. And if the backend system is able to decipher that, use a large language model to pull out the answer, translate it, convert the text to speech and render it, again, it will be very, very powerful and it will be transformational. So these are a lot more similar applications can be built. And when we throw over the problem statements, I am sure the startups and the engineers who are there, they will come up with much more creative, innovative solutions that we can even not think of.
Right. I can't not ask you about deep fakes. In the last few months, we've seen actors, cricketers being targeted. They've subsequently filed, police complaints. But from your end, what can you do? I mean, as part of this India AI mission, how are you looking at deep fakes? I think there were various proposals, right? That there can be some labeling that can be done. But, how practical is that going to be? How are you going to sort out this issue?
See, like deep fake is a problem that the whole world is facing, and especially this year when almost 60 democracies are having elections, the problem has become compounded. Not only in India, but the United States, United Kingdom, all these countries, all of us are facing that problem. So the international consensus, and in various forums, we are the chair of the Global Partnership on AI also this year. So the international consensus and the discussion that is going around is that to come out with technologies wherein we can detect deep fakes. Can we have provisions of labeling, watermarking deepfakes, so that people can be able to know? As also there are provisions where something, if an image or video is generated by AI, then to mention that this is AI generated. So of course, ensuring compliance and ensuring that people actually follow it is going to be very, very challenging. And ultimately, the law will also have to kind of play its own role. There are legal provisions which ensure if anybody misrepresents something, they can be hauled up. And this has been in place since Photoshop was around. Photoshop was the original deep fake, we can say. We can always alter an image. The level and the ability to fool people has gone ahead. Because instead of just image, we can create voice samples, we can create videos, and we can the ability to mislead has gone up. So with that, the same laws can be applied with better training of our police personnel, the judicial officers, everyone, so that the enforcement of the regulations can be done. Otherwise, if we just make regulations and don't have the capacity or the means to enforce them, it will not mean much.
So also just wanted to ask you, so OpenAI recently unveiled their new translation feature, right? So we also have Bhashini, which also is doing the same kind of things. It has even more features. How does it impact Bhashini? What do you see?
And in fact, I think GPT Omni includes Indian languages as well. So, what hit will this have on Bhashini, which is your own
it's a good thing. See, this is becoming, and this is going to happen. And as we move forward, and as the compute power goes up, as the data sets goes up, and the power of the models become much better, this will happen. So Bhashini will also need to kind of up their game. well with other tools which are there. The 4O which has come up is quite powerful as offering some of the services which Bhashini was planning to offer. But then that's part of the game. Like, and many other companies will come up. It's not that only OpenAI has come up. There are other solutions. Meta will also come up. We already have heard about the Meta AI feature on WhatsApp, which has been launched elsewhere. India, they have not launched. But I have seen demos and I have seen how it works. It's again very, very powerful. So this is natural course of evolution, whether it's India AI mission or whether it's Bhashini or Indian startups building solutions. We'll have to continuously innovate, strive harder, train better, and ensure that we are able to compete with the best.
I think I have one final. I also wanted to check if the audience has any questions. We can get a mic going. So let us know if any of you. Okay, if we can get a mic to him, that'll be great. So maybe we can get a couple of audience questions and then I'll have a final say. Yeah. Please introduce yourself before you ask a question.
Hi, I'm Zorawar Purohit, sir. Thank you. And thanks to Moneycontrol and CNBC for bringing us together. I'll keep it short, sir. I've worked all the way from the ocean in the Andamans as a diving instructor to running a tech company here. Recently, Forbes came out with a list of top 50 AI companies in the world, and you'll notice 21 of them are in San Francisco. I happen to be making a trip there next month just to understand why. My question to you is, while you've addressed everything from compute, incentivizing the right talent, and very rightly that not necessarily building a foundation model, but addressing the use cases, where is the geography and the environment, and what are the plans to create this concentrated arena or ambit where all these things come together, which is what a place like San Francisco has achieved successfully on the global pedestal?
Right.
So what are the plans for that, and do we have any such geographical epicenter that guys like me and startups can look at in the coming years?
I would have suggested Bangalore if they can cope with the traffic and the water scarcity, but go ahead.
Well, Bangalore, as she says, is the natural choice, and these days if media says something, that's the final word. But having said that, see, it's a very interesting proposition, and the way I look at it is that the United States, the value that they have and what they have done is that the partnership that they have created between the academic institutions and the industry and the startups, their model, whether it's the Y Combinator or whether it's the work which happens in institutions like Stanford or Berkeley or CMU. So there are like research scholars who like supervise PhD researchers, and many of the startups come from that. Like the linkages between research and startups ecosystem is very well established. In India, it's happening, but not at that pace at which has happened. India, like the Bangalore has primarily been driven by the DPI and the India stack story, but there is much more that can be done in the product space, and if we are looking at the AI in that. So in that regard, apart from the India AI mission, a few months back, the government also approved, that was done by Ministry of Higher Education, not by MIT, 3 centers for excellence in the field of AI across academic institutions. And there what they are doing is that they have identified 3 sectors, I think healthcare, agriculture, and smart mobility. And they are building with a network of academic institutions with a hub and spoke model. So they are in the process of final selection of those institutions. So I would feel that these COEs who will undertake research in the field of AI, coupled with the funding or the problem statement that we will throw up for building AI solutions, will ensure that the cluster of AI-led companies will grow around such institutions, where you will have BTech students, MTech students, PhD students who are working in AI, and they kind of ideate with the startups, and then the VCs and all also get access to that, fund them, support them, and maybe if we support hundreds of them, maybe 5 of them will do well. So that kind of ecosystem we'll need to create.
Right. I think we have time for one more question in case anyone has. Anyone? There, the person at the back, yeah.
Hi, I'm Siddharth. I worked extensively with the government as well as had my own startup which worked on deep tech. I have one question. When we are building this stack, the set of GPUs and all the environments around it, One thing that seems missing, which we are moving forward to, is encouraging deep tech startups. So what are our plans to actually encourage such startups so that they can sustain for a viable amount of time for actual technology innovation to happen?
Again, very, very valid question. And if you look up the last few months and last few years of the policy, the push that has been happened towards deep tech startups. Like one, apart from the India AI mission, another key mission that government launched was India Semiconductor Mission. And India Semiconductor Mission has a whole provision of trying to promote companies who are working in the chip space, in the design space. So there was a DLI scheme, design-linked incentive scheme. Then there is a Chips to Startup program which seeks to provide EDLI tools to more than 100 academic institutions so that our students get access to those tools who I'm told are very highly priced. So that is there. Plus under the India Semiconductor Mission also there is a provision for supporting startups working in that space through various measures that are there. The MeitY Startup Hub also has components for under the Samriddhi scheme for providing support to deep tech startups. And of course, India AI Mission will supplement to that. So I think the combination of efforts which have been taken in the last few 1 to 2 years will lead to kind of providing the support to deep tech startups, because that's something, a sector in which we cannot afford to miss out the opportunity that is there.
Right. On that note, we're out of time, sir, but before we end, very quickly in 10 seconds, what's your big AI prediction for India, say in the next decade?
We'll get rid of the keyboards on phones and computers. The entire interface with machines, whether it's with your phone or your computer or laptop, will be with voice.
The form factor will be voice.
Yeah, the form factor. The interface will be voice. So you will not require to key in a URL or download something. You will just ask for something and get the information that you want.
Great. On that note, thank you very much. A huge round of applause for Abhishek Singh for taking all our questions. Thank you very much, sir.